Greetings, insiders. Today is May 8th, and I have another amazing marketing story to tell you about. This week, everything you need to know about the TV upfronts, from trends defining this year's marketplace to the top questions that we have for Disney, Netflix, Amazon, and other presenters. Plus, which seller has the most leverage heading into this year's negotiations? This is Ad Age Insider, where I'm taking you behind the scenes of the industry's biggest stories with the reporters who actually wrote them. I'm your host, Parker Herron. Make sure to like this video and follow Ad Age wherever you're watching right now, and help me make this podcast more useful for you. If there's a specific topic or question that you want me to dig into with Ad Age reporters, email aapodcast@adage.com or DM me on LinkedIn. Let's get learning together. All right, the time has come. It is officially Upfront Week. Over the next few days, brand leaders and media buyers will all pack into these big NYC theaters to bear witness to such a spectacular contest of one-upping by major TV media companies. The likes of Disney, Amazon, Netflix, and YouTube, and more, will parade out celebrities while their ad chiefs talk about marketing impact, reach, ad tech. Oh yeah, and don't worry about the price because there's Chapel Roan. I kid, but it is quite a sight to behold, and the kickoff to a season in which a lot of complex factors decide how brands will spend major portions of their media budgets for the coming year. And these decisions occur as traditional and digital media continue to clash. A new report from the IAB projects that the growth rate for ad spend in social video will surpass CTV for the first time this year. That's driven by increased investment in creators and innovations in AI personalization. Definitely keep listening for the new way that TV is trying to take on social. You'll hear about that and much more from Ad Age's fearless upfront leader, Brandon Doerrer. He's on the podcast today, and we're going to talk about which media companies have the most leverage in this year's upfront market, how factors like agentic buying, outcomes measurement, and the TikTokification of TV streaming will influence decision-making, plus what CMOs need to know heading into the week. So let's get into it. Hey, Brandon, welcome back to the podcast.
Hey, Parker. Thank you for having me.
Are you so thrilled and excited that next week is finally the TV upfronts?
I can't wait. That's like a half genuine answer, to be honest. It's going to be a lot of work. I know you've talked about in the past, having done this yourself many times, it is a lot of work. And you kind of finish that week feeling like pretty ragged. But this will be my first year actually covering the whole thing, attending all of the major presentations. When I've done some of them in the past, they've been a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah.
So I'm not looking forward to how tired I will be, but I am actually looking forward to like going and doing it.
Yes, getting your steps in, finding random coffee shops to chill in between shows, all of that fun stuff. All right, so let's actually get into the topics at hand today. Like I said, everyone is gearing up right now. This is releasing the Friday before the big week, so everybody's, packing their go bags, I'm assuming, getting ready for long presentations, client dinners, and of course, as we mentioned, celebrity sightings and probably a lot of TV show trailers. Before we get into this, tell me if this resounds to you. Resounds? If this sounds right to you.
Resonates?
Resonates. When we talk about the TV upfronts, I find that some people get confused about this. When we mention upfront week, we mean next week, when all of the big media companies, NBCU, Disney, Amazon, etc., are doing their big presentations. Versus when we talk about the upfront marketplace, we're talking about the handful of months that follow those presentations when buyers and sellers are negotiating their long-term deals for inventory and premium sponsorships, yada, yada. Do you get that question a lot?
Yes, maybe not like so much these days. And also like the period of time of the upfront market has changed so much. Like I'm hearing it kind of starts around like CES and then it goes until like October, September. So I'm just like, this is basically the whole year at this point. But yes, the upfront week is next week. Some presenters have already been having some presentations. We'll probably talk about a few that I've already been to. But yes, the bulk of them will be next week. I think we have our calendar up on the Ad Age website in case you need to reference that.
Hmm.
There's going to be about like 3 a day, kind of spaced out
Yeah.
nice and even this week.
Yes, I'll have the link to that calendar as well in this episode's description because you got to stay organized on this thing. So go look that up, write it down. I want to know, Brandon, as you've been talking to media buyers and sales leaders about the upfront market this year, what's stacking up to be different about this one compared to last year or recent years?
Yeah, it's going to be kind of a long answer. I have a few trends in mind. And actually, since you covered this last year, maybe you can even talk a little bit about how what I'm talking about this year is different from what you saw
Well,
last year.
and a
But
year in media is maybe 10 years. It's like dog years, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So a couple of trends I think that are unique to this year. Measurement is going to be a big conversation, but specifically outcome focused measurement. So this is not a brand new trend, right? But the economy is still in flux. Marketing budgets are still being pretty heavily scrutinized, and TV and like the very idea of making upfront commitments to TV is one of the first things that gets put on the chopping block, right? When marketing budgets get reviewed and need to be shrunk down. So publishers have been pretty transparent in telling me this year that the battle is obviously not just with each other, but with those digital performance channels, your Googles, your Metas. So part of this conversation about outcome focused measurement, I think it's being done to sort of give the upfronts a little bit more relevancy in that battle. Outcomes based measurement is being pointed to as a solution to that, but it is, I think, far more complicated than various presenters are going to make it seem next week, right? Like all of these things exist within walled gardens. Within walled gardens, if you want to try and compare the performance of one thing to the other, and then even within like these specific companies, teams do not always communicate super well. So like one team will be saying, "Yeah, your campaign's killing, it's doing super well," and then you look at the numbers and you're like, "It's not actually."
Jag
So
them, name names.
I don't
No.
all of them all of them, the whole industry. On the tech front, right? Increasingly, we are seeing the upfronts be more and more about tech. We've seen the content is still a big part of it, but tech has become a big part of a lot of the pitches. So we're seeing a lot of like agentic media buying and selling and strategy and planning tech come out. We've seen a couple of publishers launch like new offerings in this regard. Disney, I reported last week, as part of an agentic media buying test with Magnite. Amazon is going to be talking about its ads agent, which it launched last November, I think. NBCU has also been talking since like early this year about agentic media buying and selling tests. It's been a part of. So I'm expecting there to be a decent amount of chatter about that this year. Agentic media buying is kind of in a weird place where most people think it's pretty overhyped in terms of like what it's actually capable of doing without having a human like check the work all the time. But expecting that to be talked about a lot this year, new compared to last year.
I think what's so interesting is on kind of measurement and agentic AI means of buying ad tech, I think it all kind of always boils down to who's going to be the easiest to work with and who's just going to tell me in straight up numbers that I can give to our CFO or CEO that it's working. And it always seems the companies that do that the best are always a little one step ahead.
We're also seeing, I think, like a sort of a TikTokification, a social media-fying of a lot of streaming apps. So
Mm.
Peacock, Disney Plus, getting like vertical video feeds and like sharing and like community features. It kind of makes me wonder like how that interacts. Like, do we start to see social media trends, right? Like micro dramas. Does that become a thing that publishers talk about at the upfronts if they are social media-ifying their streaming apps? We've also seen some leadership changes. I don't think that tends to be as important to buyers, right? Like who is actually in charge at the end of the day. We've seen Paramount has a new ad sales chief. Televisa Univision has a new ad sales chief. So a couple last minute switches as well.
On the front of vertical video and microdramas, one could say there is an amazing episode of the Ad Age Insider podcast that you could go back and find featuring myself and Brandon talking about that very subject. So you'll want to listen to that. Brandon, I'm curious, as you've been talking to media buyers and sellers, what is the vibe? I feel like often I find a bit of doom and gloom ahead of the upfronts. TV is dead. What are we even doing? Blah blah blah. So, what are you hearing this year as just kind of the temperature of the room going into the upfronts?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on who you talk to, right? Like, when I talk to some of the more digital performance-oriented agencies, and buyers, there is very much a question of, like, what am I actually gonna get out of this? Is this gonna be value, or are they going to address my needs? I think you actually were summing it up perfectly, right? Like, the TV sizzles and the new TV shows, like, I don't care. How are they going to, at the end of the day, give me the best numbers and be the easiest to work with on the tech front, on the measurement front?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, when I what I said earlier about the difference between the upfront week and the upfront marketplace, that is kind of the thing that I hear is the upfront week still matters because relationships matter and people matter and we talk to each other and we negotiate at the table and we get the deals and blah blah blah. That's why I might disagree with you that the ad sales leaders matter because they bring those relationships with them to the negotiations and to the upfront. But at the same time, what is the marketplace? I always hear you mentioned maybe it goes CES to October. I think it goes CES to CES. And
Mhm,
it's
mhm.
just that continual conversation. So that's really interesting. You mentioned before that you have been to a couple. There are the kind of pre-upfront week upfronts. I believe you've been to AMC Networks and Paramount's
Yes, that
upfronts.
is correct. Those are the 2 that I've been to, yeah.
I'm curious, like, what you took away from those presentations so far. Is there anything we can learn about how media companies might be presenting themselves this year, how they're confronting some of these concerns that we've mentioned, anything like that?
Yeah, I will say those 2 events I think are kind of different from what you are going to get, like, next week, hence why they're kind of not a part of next week, right? AMC, I think, is in a unique position where it has actively tried to distance itself from the way that the upfronts is pivoting to be more about, like, tech and measurement. That is, like, that was a content showcase, right? It was very much all about content. It was a, like, tight hour-long presentation.
Ooh, gorgeous.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's nice. They have all the celebrities sitting with you, not at the press table though. Celebrities don't sit at the press table.
Yeah, well, how many millions are you paying them? And then we'll see if we can get a celebrity
That's
there.
actually a really good point. Yeah. But no, it's so yes, that is I think different in that they are not blending those two things. AMC has like a separate tech breakfast like earlier in the year, so you don't quite see those two things blend in the same way that you will next week. Paramount, I believe this is the first time that Paramount has opened actually their presentations to us, right? Like you haven't been to a
I have
Paramount.
not. Ever since they took themselves off the upfront week, I have never been invited.
Yeah, I was expecting it to be more different from how like the actual other upfront presentations that I've been to have been, because they have instead of like just one presentation, they have a handful of dinners that they cater to specific agencies that they invite. So it was kind of the same as other upfront presentations I've been to. Content was still a really big part of it, but they did have some tech people come on and talk about new offerings, and CTV was like a big part of the conversation as well. I'd say the biggest difference though is that like that conversation is very tailored to the agency that's in the room. So when Jay gets up on stage, he is like referencing specific pieces of tech that this agency owns and his experience and relationships. Like he's calling people out by name that he's worked with
Mm.
in the past. So it's kind of the same as a regular upfront presentation, but just like a little bit more. When Jay gets up on stage and talks to the crowd, it's a little more like specific and tailored. But yeah,
Yes,
I
J.S.
don't.
Kanazi, you're
Yes,
referencing
yes,
the ad chief of Paramount, where also, if you're only listening, you are missing a cat reveal on Brandon's screen. It is blurred out, so people have to really
yeah.
squint.
People were also missing him chewing on cables and the
Ooh.
wires. That's why I looked away for a second there.
Well, a good prompt for people to go watch on YouTube since we put Ad Age Insider on YouTube. But
True.
anyway, you were saying, Brandon, sorry, a cat can never escape mention with me.
Yeah, yeah. So I was saying, I honestly, we'll see next week. I don't think that presentations are actually going to look all that different this year. I still think there's going to be a big conversation about live sports and exclusivity rights and these are the new TV shows that we're announcing and we're going to have the celebrities come on and make jokes that may or may not land. I feel like they don't land a lot actually when they have like comedians go up on stage, big, musical performance numbers and stuff. The stuff that people are used to. I think honestly that is largely going to look the same, apart from maybe a little bit more outcome focused, maybe some agentic stuff creeping in.
Mhm. So now I want to go through the presenters that are going to be presenting next week during the TV upfronts and hear any points of interest from you, any top of mind questions that you might have, or questions that they might need to be answering for to buyers to make them really feel confident in them. Buckle up. The first presenter that we'll have next week during the upfronts is NBC Universal. They always kick off the upfront weeks. Are there any big questions or things that buyers are looking to have answered by NBCU specifically that we should have our eyes on?
Yeah, I think NBCU has maybe been more active than other publishers in pushing, like, we have I feel like I'm talking about agentic media a lot, but this is, I think, that's something that distinguishes them from other presenters. Is we have tech that can do the buying and the selling, and we have done those tests, and we have run the campaigns, and it works. And like we have that. That is ready. Maybe not for like sale yet. We're not going to sell you yet, but like we have proven that this works, that we can do it. Again, like I think any buyer should be kind of skeptical about that tech and its ability to like just handle spend and spend it properly. I did a story on, or when I did the story on agentic media buying at the upfronts, someone from W Promote told me that like one thing that this tech is still really bad at is like quality assurance. So like checking itself before it actually says it's done to make sure that it has done everything correctly in accordance with the guidelines that you have given it. Still pretty bad at that. So that's probably something you want it to be good at that before you give it to all of your money to spend. So yeah, I think NBCU in particular being more vocal about some of that tech, that's a question that I think buyers will probably want to ask them about.
What about let's go to Amazon?
Yeah, I think Amazon's DSP is continuing to grow, right? Like they are getting access to inventory from all of these different publishers. Netflix is a part of it now. The authenticated graph is still a really enticing way, I think, for buyers to track audiences. And if you're going to have like walled gardens inside of one of these companies, Amazon is a place where buyers tend to not mind it so much because you have content and you have commerce and you have Prime Video and you have the authenticated graph and you have like ads agent, and there's just like so much data inside of that platform. Like the DSP, you can kind of access Netflix inventory and a variety of inventory from other publishers too. So I think there's a lot of excitement about Amazon. Amazon has always been a company that like I think doesn't fit super neatly into like the idea of the upfronts. It's kind of funny to me when they like lean on some of the same like tropes that other presenters do, because I'm just like, you don't have to do that. You're like a very different you're like a very different thing, you know?
Yes, I always hear lots of excitement about Amazon, and their capabilities. I hear a little bit less excitement, and this might just be coming from inside my house as well, but about the experience of watching ads on Prime Video. Not as fun, or just the UI in general on that thing.
Yeah, I don't watch a ton of shows on Prime at the moment. I do remember when I was watching Invincible, I got the same brisk iced tea ad
Mm.
like over and over and over and over again, which like it was not necessarily a bad ad. Like it was created in the design of the show, it was clearly very bespoke and cool. But by like the fourth time I saw it within the same one episode, I was like, damn, I'm
Yes.
sick of this ad already.
There are some specific brands I've developed extreme hatred for, specifically because I have to watch their ads so many times on
Mhm.
certain streaming platforms.
Yes.
Uh, Amazon being Prime Video being an offender.
Mhm.
Let's skip over to Disney. What's outstanding about Disney right now that we should have our eyes on?
Yeah, the Super Bowl next year they are
Their first
running.
one in quite a while, so it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see what they are bringing to it.
Yes. Yeah. Disney asking for 10 million for the Super Bowl. That's a lot of money. So I think it'll be interesting, right? Like what sort of content or programming or shows do they come up with, whether it be on ESPN or Disney Plus or other platforms, right? Like ahead of the show? What do they run after the show to make that big price tag more enticing for your for your average buyer? They're also doing some agentic stuff right now. Like I mentioned earlier, they're part of a buying test with Magnite right now, so decent chance they either talk about that or just kind of vaguely allude to the idea that they have agentic stuff that they are developing. Oh, and Disney Plus also kind of leaning into this like social media vertical videoification with the Disney Plus app.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, they had that big deal with OpenAI and Sora to have an AI generated hub on Disney Plus, and obviously with the sunset of Sora, that deal is out the window. So it'll be interesting if they have more, I guess, creative oriented AI solutions coming out, since clearly that was of interest. But as far as I know, is off the map for the moment. So, as you mentioned, leaning into the socialification of streaming, it seemed like they had AI as a component on their map as well at some point. So I'll be interested to see how that evolves. This one writes itself, but Warner Brothers Discovery. What questions might someone have about Warner Brothers Discovery right now?
No, I don't have any questions though.
Off the
No,
hook.
I think that this deal with Paramount will be particularly interesting. These are two massive companies. This would be a massive joining of content and intellectual properties, and just like the sheer amount that you could buy against, I think is going to be interesting for buyers, and something that they may have on their mind.
Yes, and probably the many pains of a transition that comes before that. They've only recently just come out of that, and you can probably find many Q&As with John Steinloff, their previous ad chief, with myself and others about how unpleasant it was selling Discovery as it was being merged with Warner Brothers, and now here we are again.
Here we are again. What is old is new again. Yeah. And I don't know if this is going to come up, right? Like, probably not. Paramount didn't really say anything about it at their dinner. So
Well, it's interesting. If you listen to our Marketer's Brief podcast, which many can, Warner Brothers Discovery Ads has been a sponsor. And their ad read has something like a man saying something like, "You may have heard lots of changes at Warner Brothers Discovery, but blah, blah, blah." So they may not be as close to, at least as you said, some poorly landing jokes about it. Answers, perhaps not.
yes, that is a good point. References perhaps may come out, maybe abundant.
So, Netflix, do you think they have officially arrived with their ads business, or are they still trying to prove themselves around the block?
I think they've arrived. They have like huge projections for their ad growth this year. Um, it's like it's been growing at a really rapid rate. They are coming up with like cool, innovative ways to get involved and sponsor like a lot of great IP that they are collecting. Yeah, I'd say it's here.
Amazing. And then YouTube will close out the week and, just kind of in league of their own. So I feel like I don't even really need to ask.
Yeah, I'm not going to YouTube's probably unless they invite me at the last minute, because we're sending our wonderful creator and social reporter Jillian Follett instead.
Ooh, and I would love to know which one of you is a bigger Chapel Roan fan, because I feel like, I would have been in a fist fight trying to get that invite.
It's probably Jillian. I do like Chapel Roan, I will say. I guess I've never talked to her about it. It's probably her.
All right, I have a couple of wrap-up questions for you. As you've talked to buyers, which of those companies that we've mentioned do you think has the most leverage this year with buyers?
Yeah, I think Disney with the Super Bowl is in a great spot. I think Netflix, like we were just talking about, is in a great spot. A lot of great IP, ad business growing super fast. Amazon is in a great spot with having so many different things within its walls that you can leverage when you make these commitments. Yeah,
That's good. I don't want to give too many winners. And are there any that you think really have something to prove this year?
we haven't talked about them much, but they're on our calendar. And I'm going to go to it. Televisa Univision having a new ad sales chief a week before probably does not bode super well. I think they will have to address what is going on, why they are making these changes, what they are trying to fix at the last minute, if they are trying to make fixes.
My last question for you, Brandon. If I'm a CMO and I'm listening to this podcast, and I'm thinking, sure, I'm looking forward to a nice dinner next week, but for the most part, everything they've been talking about is something for my agency to worry about. What do you think is the most critical thing for a CMO to know about the upfronts this year?
Yeah, I just wrote a piece about transparency and how the transparency conversation is translating to upfront negotiations. One of the big takeaways that I got speaking both to in house media leads and consultancies is like it is really important to have your in house media strategists involved in these conversations, not just at the event, but actually involved in the negotiations itself. Because I spoke with a consultant who used to be on the brand side and the agency side, and he's like, that's a very different thing, just being there versus being in the conversations. Letting like procurement handle it alone, they do not necessarily have great insight into like they can ask about principal buying. They don't know necessarily how it affects like the media strategy. So yeah, I've been hearing that it's going to be really really important to have your in-house media team actually involved in the negotiations this year, so you know what your agency is doing, you know what they're up to.
Yes, yes. Hold those feet to the fire. Make sure you're getting what's best for you and not what's best for your agency. I feel like timeless words of advice from you, Brandon,
Thank you.
and many, many words of wisdom from you over this conversation. So thank you so much for joining today and really imparting some knowledge on us.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity.
All right. I hope you found that conversation as thrilling as I did. If you did, please like this video and follow AdAge wherever you're watching right now. I want to thank my guest, Brandon Doerrer, and I want to thank you for watching. I'm Parker Heron, and this is AdAge Insider. I'll see you next week.